Today you're going to learn how to write equations from graphs, or what we're going to start with is from just pieces of information from the graph. So for our first problem, we're doing a sine graph and it's told to us. If not, you can pick whatever type you want to make it. We've got our amplitude, period, phase shift, and vertical shift. So I'm going to start with my format. We know it's going to be y, or f of x, is a sine of bx plus or minus c plus or minus d. So I'm just going to fill in what I know. I know my amplitude is 2. I know it has to be a sine graph. Period is coming from 2 pi over b. So if I know 2 pi over b equals the period that I've been given, I can solve for b, which is what I actually plug in. So we would multiply by b, divide by pi, which gives me 2 pi over pi, which is equal to b. Pi's canceled, tells me b is 2. Plug in my x. I also have a phase shift and a vertical shift. I'm going to go ahead and put the plus 2 for the vertical. The phase shift is to the right, so I know it's going to be a negative inside my equation, and it's pi over 2. And we said that negative c over b, well in this case we know b is 2, we just found it up here, is equal to my phase shift, so pi over 2. Then if we solve it, because it's a right, I'm going to put in positive pi over 2. Solve it for c, so we'd multiply by 2. That tells me negative c is pi, or c is negative pi. So when I plug that in, I've already got my negative sign. This would be your equation. Same process for cosine, it's just we're going to say cosine instead of sine. So we're going to start with my y equals, it's reflected, so I'm going to put a negative. Then my amplitude has to be a cosine graph. Period is pi over 4, so 2 pi over b is equal to my period, which is pi over 4. I would multiply by b and divide by pi over 4, so 2 pi divided by pi over 4, which means I could flip it and multiply, so I'm going to multiply by 4 over pi. Pi's cancel, tells me b is 8. So we've got 8x. I'm moving to the left, so plus. I can do the same process again, so negative c over b, which this time is 8, is equal to my phase shift. It's to the left, so we've got negative pi over 4. Multiply by 8. That gives me negative 8 pi over 4, or the same thing as 2 pi minus 1. And there's your equation. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a couple to try on your own. So here's your equations, your information. So I would go ahead and pause it right now. I'm going to put the answers up. There's your actual equations at the bottom in red. And then we're going to move on and we're going to do an equation from a graph. So if you'll click on the next video, we're going to go ahead and do an equation from a graph.